At the age of 5, his father instructed him to help work the farm, leaving very little time for school. The farming was their main source of food, so it was more of a priority than school. At the age of 15, Mr. Peeler got his first job other than farming, and around the age of 18, he signed up for the Army. He said if he hadn't joined, he would have been drafted anyway because it was such a need. After signing, he was sent off for 17 weeks to boot camp in New York. Plumer was also sent to Camp Canyon in Texas. After boot camp, he stayed in New York for a few days and then was put on a boat to England. From there, he was put on an English ship across the English Channel to France. The first place he arrived was Normandy. He spoke of how a rope ladder was put off the steps of the side of the ship, and he had to climb down the ladder and jump into smaller boats. If you didn't make the jump, he said, you never lived to tell. The smaller boats opened in the front, and when they got out, they were knee-deep into water and had to walk to shore. When he finally reached the land, Mr. Peeler said that many men were fighting, but most were dead. They had to jump right in with all of that. He also fought in the Battle of Hedgerow. The hedges were so high, he said, that you never knew what to expect. He continued in the tour to Luxembourg, where he sat up on a hill for maybe a week trying to push forward. But the Germans kept pushing back. They ran across the sun up to the sundown, but were just outpowered. He said he worked in extreme conditions, mostly freezing, and watched people in his infantry would fall asleep and suffer the consequences when they woke up from frostbite. They were picked up on the other side of a burning town by Americans, but they weren't alone. They were followed by German bombers. After the incident in Luxembourg, he traveled to Belgium and fought in the Battle of the Bulge. On January 15, 1945, he was injured while fighting. He was hit directly in the chest by what he thought was either a bullet or an artillery shell. He was brought for attention first at a dairy barn basement along with 10 or 20 others. The next day he was sent to a Paris hospital and then to an English hospital. They were trying to move him closer to the States, and eventually they brought him back on a ship to New York. The time he was injured and sent back was close to the end of World War II. Mr. Peeler said that when he was injured, they took me up to the street and put me on a stretcher, lifted me up on a tank, which took me to a first aid station. He went on to tell of many interesting events that took place during his tour. Once he said they captured a German doctor to aid the injured, and the Germans dropping pamphlets of dead men. Of all the experiences he expressed, one major feeling of the time of war was, I was scared to death, but when I got there, I did what I was trained to do and forgot the rest of my fears. Plumer Peeler was part of the 83rd Infantry. He was the first scout and member of the rifle company. His first job was to go back and signal if it was clear or not to go. He entered the Army as a private first class. He received an honorable discharge in 1945. After his recovery, he helped his dad cut logs and got a job. He lived in a time when gasoline was 11 cents per gallon, 3 big candy bars was 10 cents, and a new car was $700. He knew hardship and what it meant to earn what you had. He has seen war, depression, massacre, and happiness. He was later married to Mavis Caddy, and together they had 5 sons. He still lives in Arkansas in the city of Malvern. He said to me, when people say war is hell, it couldn't be more true.
Thank you.
Thank you, Devyn. I just want to say that Plumer was my favorite brother. He was quite a bit older